Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode where we meet our community, the Hispanic business community here in Orange County, powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, with the only man I know who knows everybody, Mr. Orange County John Gutierrez. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Paul Roberts. Welcome to our community podcast show powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Senior Vice President John Gutierrez. Thank you once again for tuning in to us to another weekly community podcast show. We have another great guest with us today, Marian Diaz, who is the director of HYPERNOVA Marketing Agency, an entrepreneur, and she has her own podcast. She's a host of Mentes Disruptivas show. And so welcome, Mariana Diaz. We're going to be doing a little bit of Spanish and English, Spanglish, because Mariana she has a big following in the Spanish community. And of course, hacemos la Cámara de Comercio Hispano. ¿Por qué no, verdad? Welcome, Mariana.
Muchas gracias por esa introducción. Y sí, la verdad que yo siempre he pensado que las personas hispanas aquí, los que no hablan inglés, tienen muy pocos recursos en español. So, yo puedo tener una comunidad que quizás que hable inglés y español, pero yo quiero ayudar a la comunidad que no hable inglés, que esa comunidad es bastante grande aquí en California.
And Marian speaks English, but she just basically said, if you don't mind sharing in English, that you're a big supporter of trying to help the Hispanic community that mainly speaks Spanish, right? And that you want them to get, obviously, better resources, better support in the English community, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I want. I want, especially immigrants, that come to this country, that don't have a lot of resources, that don't know the system, don't understand how things work here. And I want to be like a channel for them to find those resources, to, learn about how they can do better for their lives and for their families and for their businesses too.
Would you say that has to do a lot with your journey and what you've been through?
Yes, I believe that I've missed out on a lot of opportunities in my first, 5 years in this country because I didn't know. I didn't know, like, for example, what was the best way to, like, set up my company or to do my taxes. And I think I missed out on a lot of opportunities. Like, even when I met you, right? I didn't know about the power of networking. And I remember when I met you 8 years ago, or like it's over 8 years.
Yeah, time has gone by fast.
Yes, I remember you telling me all the time, Marianne, you need to go to network, you need to meet people. And I had this dream, right? And you were that person for me that guided me a little in the beginning, but I didn't know the power that involves, connecting with other people. Tony Robbins says this all the time. It's not the how. It's the whom. Mm-hmm. Like, who is going to help you achieve your goals? Who is going to make you, take that next step?
Exactly. And I remember, I think when we met back in the day, we're at the place you were working at, we would do events there. We do like fundraisers, networking events. And, for me, I'm one of those proponents of just like you, helping empower people, right? And just, even if you give people a little bit of information, because, obviously we're all so busy running around, and so I remember, you're right. I used to say, get involved, do some networking. So your journey has grown so much. You've grown so much in the community. Share with us a little bit about that journey, because we're going to go into your big event that you're having this Saturday, right? What used to be Original Mike's Restaurant and eventually 701 Restaurant, but now I think they changed it to El Parral, right?
Yes.
It's in Santa Ana on the corner of Main and, of course, also First Street there. And it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's an all-day empowerment, right? Would you say event?
Yes, it's a very transformational event. Mm-hmm. We're going to have, like, speakers, professional coaches there that are going to help, the community to, like, overcome, challenges that they're going through, or like limiting beliefs that they might have that they don't even know that they have, but it's blocking them from taking action, from like doing the things they say they're gonna do, but they don't do it because something is stopping them. As a few days ago my cousin told me, like, she's out of she's not working, and she doesn't speak English. So that's the community I really want to help. Like, I think about my family, right, that recently came to this country, and they don't have resources. So I'm like pretty much their only resource, right? Even like yesterday, my brother was trying to buy a car and I was translating. So my cousin said the other day, I don't know, like I always say I'm going to start on Monday, but Monday arrives and there's something that stops me from taking action. And I'm like, wow, like I wonder, what can I do for her to help her? But I know I can't, but what I can do is to bring people that are, experts in helping you transform that stuff, that thing that's blocking you and stopping you from, living your best life.
And I think it all has to do with maybe our culture. We have this, I don't really need a coach, right? And it's interesting because we've had many guests on the show, and many of our guests, when we go into their journey, will talk about they had a good mentor, right? Or they had great parents who supported them, or they had a teacher. In my case, I always talk about I had some really good football coaches, coaches in high school. And when I was a young kid, I had obviously, good parents that supported me, and I also had a great teacher. So we all need coaches, right? It's just as we get older, I think we have a hard time accepting some sort of coach that's going to help us get over the things you're talking about right now. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, of course. And I believe that you have to be humble to accept
Yes.
that we might need help, that
Yes.
we might not be right on certain things that we think that they're right, but they're not right. And, everyone likes to be right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about accepting that you might not be right and you might need help. And, be curious too, like what's there? What else is there for me to get better? Like I'm always curious. I'm always trying to find out what I can improve for me to go even further.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense because a lot of the big reason why I joined the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce was because people would ask me, is that your phone? My phone? Somebody else? Oh, let me turn this off. Sorry.
This is where we take a break because John forgot to turn his phone off here. What he tells everybody to do, he forgot to do. Just pointing that out.
So, one of the things that we talked about is
We need a mentor for you, John.
yes,
we
do.
He needs a coach that tells him
Yes,
to
this is
mute
what
his
happens
phone.
when we have like 4 cameras going right now. We had to set up her camera, my camera, the camera here in the studio. What happens is, like when I started my business, my wife and I, my sister, I tell people I joined the chamber because I saw a lot of great mentors there. Big corporate people that managed thousands of people, and I thought to myself, wow, this is great. I can learn from these individuals better skills, better ways for me to run my business. Would you say that's something you're kind of doing for a lot of people now? Because your event has a lot of great mentors that are going to be there on Saturday.
Yes, and one of my main ones is the owner of Javier's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you a little bit of the back of the story
Sure.
about that.
Let's share that. That's what we're about, telling stories, right, Paul?
So during the pandemic,
Yes.
I was very in a dark place. Like a lot of
Everybody.
a lot of people were
went
going
it.
through it because we never had the time to sit with our own feelings and emotions, and we were forced to really feel those emotions during that time. So I was having a very hard time, and I had just found out that my mom was alive after thinking that she was dead for 26 or 27 years, right? My whole life. I don't know her in person.
So you had never met your mom?
I have never met
You
my
were a
mom.
little girl. You had never. Wow.
I actually thought, or my brain dissociated from it, and I thought she was dead. It wasn't until 2019, August 13th, 2019. I still remember that moment, right?
Wow. Okay.
When I found out that she was alive. And then, unfortunately, I didn't take it well. It wasn't and this is so messed up to say this, but it wasn't whoa, my mom is here. No, it was whoa, my mom abandoned me. She didn't love me. She rejected me. She was always 2 hours away from me. She never came back. She had another daughter. She adopted a kid. She changed her name. So she really didn't want to know anything about us. So finding out the truth put me in a very dark place, right? So that led me to act really bad in my relationship because I developed anxiety, panic attacks. I ended up at the hospital twice. I didn't know anything about mental health back then, right? And it wasn't until one day, one of my good friends, she's a psychologist, and she was like, you need help. Like, I can't believe, the world is falling apart and falling on you, and you still say everything is okay. Life is not perfect. Like, you need to stop pretending. And I was like, I know she was right, but I wasn't going to tell her you're right. I was like, no, I'm okay. Like, I got this. And she goes, I know you might be a hard patient, so here's my contact, my therapist, like, you should call. I didn't call for sure. So it was a very dark place for me, like suicidal thoughts.
Sorry to hear that. Wow.
Yes. And then I started, I wasn't working, but then I started working a few months later, taking clients through the back. And there was a client, her name is Holly. She was the owner of Tortilla Flats, which is the place where Javier started working back in the days, right?
Yes.
When he first came to
And
this
again, we're
country.
talking about Mr. Javier, who owns the chain of Javier's restaurants, right?
Yes.
Which has made hundreds and hundreds of millions.
Yes.
Very successful businessman today.
It's a very powerful story.
Yes.
Not a lot of people can say that they were dishwashers and working for one.
We don't want to
single-
tell all the
Yeah.
story because we want people to come Saturday,
Yes.
right? And hear the story.
Of
but we'll give
course.
them a little bit, right? We'll give them a little bit.
It's a very powerful
Yes,
story.
I've heard his story. It's really amazing.
And it's a story that did it for me. That, that little spark that like came back, it helped me, like, came back to life. Like, it helped me get inspiration, which I think it's what we're lacking when we have depression, right? We're not inspired. We're just in a dark place, thinking negative thoughts. And when I heard that story, I was like, how did he do it? Like, ¿cómo lo hizo? And then that's how I got to think, like, this story needs to be, we need to tell this story. People need to hear this, because if that story was doing that for me, it was getting me out of bed, like, it was giving me hope that my dream, I could fulfill my dream. I can, accomplish it. And I remember one day getting home in a tiny house in Santa Ana thinking, I need to have a podcast and, like, tell this story. And I need to have him on my lunch day on my podcast, right? And 4 years ago, I committed that I wanted him to be, because he was the whole reason, right? He was
Yeah.
the one that inspired
His story
me.
inspired you, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Makes sense.
And there is always a story that inspires people, right? But they don't have access to those stories. So that's why I said, maybe with the podcast, I'm going to bring a lot of people's stories, right? And, maybe one person will get inspired like me, right? One of those stories will inspire someone, and, it'll be like,
Makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense. If it inspired you, why wouldn't it inspire other people,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And not only his story, right? Like, I'm bringing a lot of stories that are very powerful on my podcast.
But I think it also took a lot from you to accept and understand that you were in that dark place, wouldn't you say? That takes a lot for people to
I hit
accept
rock
that.
bottom.
Okay.
And, like, I even planned for suicide until the day arrived. And I remember asking God, like, please give me a sign, because when you're feeling like there's no hope for you,
Yes.
there's
Sorry to
no
hear
way
that.
there's
Wow.
no way out. Like, you think that no one loves you. You're very ungrateful too. Like, you don't value people. You're in a dark place. You don't see the good in life. You only see the dark. And I remember Google pretty much saved my life too. That day I remember Googling how many pills of Xanax do I need to take for, to succeed in this suicide, right? And because
Wow.
I didn't have a lot. I had like 18 pills, but I also didn't want to end up alive and,
Yeah.
with brain damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know what, Google, when you ask Google those type of questions, they don't answer
Wow.
with the right, they just, a lot of things pop up on your screen saying, like, get help, hotline, suicidal,
Really? That's interesting.
And that was a sign for me. So I called, because at that point, no one knew what I was going through. Absolutely no one. I hadn't called the therapist that my friend sent me. Like, I had no hope. And I was like, because I was also afraid of what people would think. I was very ashamed of what I was feeling. And then I called one of those numbers, and I let it all out. And I felt immediate relief. And then they told me, like, we're going to give you 10 sessions of therapy through the school. And, that's how my mental health journey started, pretty much.
Really? So you went through that process.
Yes.
What was that like, if you don't mind me asking?
Therapy?
Yes.
Horrible.
Really?
It took my therapist. First of all, I went to 3 therapists first because I was still in denial. I was like, I couldn't trust them. It takes a while for you to open up to someone, especially if it's the first time and no one knows what you're going through. So you're trying to hide it, pretend you're okay, and at the same time you need to like live those feelings, right? So for me, it was pretty much sitting or laying on my bed for like a week the first time I opened up to my therapist. And, not turning the lights on until 4 p.m., not eating. It was bad. Like, I honestly, I never neglected myself like I did that time.
Wow.
And all by myself because no one knew.
And I'm sure you have a lot of friends and people that around you love you and care for you.
Yes.
But it was more you secluding yourself from the world, right?
Yeah. And you know what's the beauty of it? Once you come out of there, you realize that you do have people, that people love you, and that those friends that you thought once that they weren't there for you, they're actually there for you. But when you're in depression, you don't see it. And I think what also helped me was to, create a gratitude for those people that were there for me, through all those dark moments, because they were there. I just didn't value it.
Have you ever heard of the 7 stages of grief?
No.
So in healthcare, because we're in healthcare, my wife and I, we own a hospice company. It's something that is shared with families after they die. The loved ones die, right? Husband or wife or somebody dies of cancer. When we take care of them, after that, we do what's called 7 stages of grief with our psychosocial services, which is our social workers or therapists. And part of it is what you were just talking about: denial, anger. It's the whole grieving stage when somebody dies. What people don't realize is that can be the same scenario in any other case in your life. Like a major, I don't know, divorce, whatever it may be, just a major thing in your life. In your case, you were hit really fast, really hard with this news that your mom was alive after you thought she wasn't alive all these years.
And I felt guilty
for there was all these emotions, all these emotions, right?
I was, I should have been happy, right? But I was like, why this is hurting me so much?
Yeah. I went through something like that when my dad died, because my dad was just so much older than, I was the youngest of 5 siblings, and he was just so much older than me as a father, and there wasn't that connection. And when, on his last days of him dying, I would go visit him, and I was searching at his deathbed, literally those last days, for some sort of "I love you, son." And my dad was very old school, very old fashioned, never said "I love you," and he loved us and he cared about us, but he just never said it. And so because he never said that, at the end of his life, I was searching for that. I was looking for that, right? And when he died and he really still didn't say that, it affected me, like, for years. Like, did he not love us? Did he not care for us? Even though he did, he showed his love in other ways by working really hard and providing for us, right? So everybody goes through those 7 stages of grief very differently when you have such a tragedy in your life. And I'm sorry to hear that you were going through this. And it's inspiring to see that this is why you've created what you created, right? And this is your first big event. Yes. Right? I mean, this is exciting, I would say, right? I mean, I met you 8 years ago working at a restaurant.
I didn't even know English.
Exactly. At a restaurant that we were doing events, networking events. They were part of our chamber.
Yes.
We were doing mixers. We had done a fundraiser there, a comedy night. And today you are now, a director of HYPERNOVA Marketing Agency, right? Which you do marketing for different businesses, right? You have almost 30,000 followers on your social media.
50.
Is it 50? Okay. I'm sorry. I was wrong. And you're an entrepreneur, and now you have your own podcast show. You're interviewing people like Mr. Javier, right?
Yes.
I mean, your journey has grown so much. So
Yes.
Kudos to you. I mean, that you came out of this dark area in your life. What are we wanting to share with the community that is inspiring on Saturday? We got to get people out there, right? Because I know we got a good crowd already, but we got to get more people to come out and not only meet Marian and all her guests, because you have about 10 speakers or so? How many is it?
Like seven.
Seven
Seven or
okay.
8. Yeah.
7 or 8. Okay.
Yeah, and some of them have very powerful stories. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to help immigrants that don't speak English, that have very little resources. So I'm trying to be, that person that provides all of those resources that they need and that inspiration, which is the most important, because once they have inspiration, they're inspired, they're gonna go because they're gonna find a way to accomplish whatever they're feeling. So in this event, for example, one of the speakers, he came from Brazil, also no English, and now he speaks 3 languages because now he speaks Spanish too. And he grew his company from 0 to $18 million in 4 years.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm bringing very powerful stories for them or everyone to get inspired, right? And then I'm also one of the speakers is gonna talk about failure, right? Why is it necessary? Why you should be okay with it? Because we're supposed to fail many times, but then people stop at the first failure because they think oh, what can what are other people going to think about me? Because they're ashamed. And it's part of the process, right? I went through that too. I remember when I first failed my first business, I went right back into the restaurant and I was like, this is not for me. But it only took me 2.5 months to realize that the restaurant wasn't actually for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd rather go hard on the business.
Paul wants to know, where do people sign up? He's giving me, Paul always does these little signs in the background. How do people sign up? Where do they go to sign up, right? And how much is it, if you can share that?
Yeah, of course. There is a link on my Instagram. We're going to post it later on also, if you can, on this platform.
Yeah, we'll share it.
There is a website. We have an Eventbrite too link. And what else?
Where can they follow you? Share maybe your Instagram, right?
By the way, we also have a discount for
Our chamber members,
our
right?
chamber members. Yes.
Yes.
For everyone that's in the chamber. It's
OCHCC.
Yes,
I think
10.
you gave it 10.
Yeah,
OCHCC 10.
10.
If you go to the link, you can put that in and there's a discount for you guys. I think it's 10% discount or something like that?
$10.
$10.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry.
tickets are 67. So
Okay.
with the discount will be 57.
57, yes. And
you
keep in mind, guys, to put on these events, it takes a lot of work. I know, because we put on, 3 or 4 events, 5 events sometimes every month here at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So there's always a cost to all of this, right? There's travel expenses, there's the venue, there's, so many things, right? So don't think of it as oh, why are they, listen, it's an investment in yourself. It's an investment. And I know everybody's like, well, it's a Saturday, I got a million things to do. Yes, you do, but you also have to invest in yourself, right, Marian?
Yes, I'm gonna tell you. I know we have to go, but I'm gonna tell you.
No, you got time. We got about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Before Paul starts giving me that stinky eye.
Last weekend, one of the coaches that's gonna be there, Jorge, they call it the Coach George. So he was introduced by 2 powerful men that are CEOs of big companies, and they told me that this guy transformed their lives, right? So I'm like, huh. So I went to him and I asked him to be on the show, on the at the event. So then later on, I find out that I have also limiting beliefs about money. I was having shame when it came to me asking for a sponsorship, right? And I was like, why is it that I feel
why is that
so-
hard for you?
Yes, or to charge people, right? For this event, to be honest, I'm taking a lot of money out of pocket, right? But it's fulfilling. My heart is gonna be happy. So I told him hey, I'm having these feelings, and I know there are limiting beliefs about money, and I never looked into what's there in my subconscious mind. And it was Friday at 11 a.m. and he had a seminar, a whole weekend seminar of 12 hours a day, 3 days. And I had, 2 weeks before the event, I'm busy, right? I had clients. I canceled everyone to be at that seminar in the next hour. And guess what happened after that? I've never, made that much money in my life, but then that week only, I made almost $4,000 in 5 days.
Nice.
And
Congratulations.
yes, thank you. And I was like, whoa. And now I'm not ashamed to ask for sponsorship, because they're also wanting to help the community, right? I'm not asking for money,
Exactly.
I'm asking to help the community. So it changed something in me. I increased my prices at the salon. No one had left so far, and I'm not afraid. Like before, I had this limiting mindset, non-abundant, right? Where I thought, oh my God, if I increase my prices, they're gonna go, and I'm not gonna have clients. And now I have abundant mindset.
Well, on that note, you're talking about your clients and your salon, and I know we only have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, I want you to share with everybody that's like your bread and butter, right? Very successful
Yeah.
eyelash business
Yeah, and facials.
and facials.
Salon. It's called Vene Beauty Bar.
Vinny Beauty
But
Bar.
that's pretty much set, right? Like I don't have to worry pretty much about clients.
That's
Which
great.
is, yeah, good. And all of my clients also, like, they're locals. They're mostly white, homestay wives.
Yeah. But you started that from scratch.
Oh my God, yes.
Like-
Word of mouth, pretty much.
Yeah.
And now I have over 200 clients.
No way.
Yes.
200 clients?
Yes.
What can we ask? I mean, can we share this? I mean, I'm a guy, I don't know. What do you charge to do, like, let's say one of these eyelashes things? I know it's really
It goes
popular now.
from 145 to 200.
145 to 200. And by the way, you donated one of these at our
Yes.
toy drive for our fundraiser, and thank you so much for that.
Yes.
That, again, supporting what we were doing at the time at our toy drive fundraiser with her business. And so thank you for supporting us
Of
at the
course.
Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And this is why we should be supporting you in return. And so for everybody listening, for everybody watching, this Saturday, which is the 20th, this Saturday, which is the 20th, at what now is El Parral, used to be Original Mike's and 701 Restaurant, corner of Main Street, and First there on the corner from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. She's going to have an amazing empowerment event with many great speakers. We will actually be there also ourselves. I'll be there myself and supporting. So we invite everybody to come out. We'll put the link here or wherever you see the post. We'll share her link. And then also follow you on your social media. What is your Instagram? If you can share that, because I know they'll see all the links there in the post.
Yeah, of course. It's at Diaz, what's that,
Underscore? Uh-huh.
Marian, but Diaz with 2 I.
Two
because
I's,
it wasn't available my last name.
Okay, at Diaz. Okay, so D-I-I-Z.
A-Z.
A-Z, I'm sorry.
Underscore Marian.
Marian.
M-A-R-I-A-N.
Okay, so we'll put some links there for you guys where you see all this. But more than anything, guys, here at the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, our goal is to always be supporting all businesses, but more than anything, small businesses like yourself that started
It's
from,
very hard.
literally from your home to now your salon.
From my house.
Yes.
Yeah, from my living room.
Mhm. From your living room to now where you're at, and now doing these empowerment events with all these great speakers. And again, Mr. Javier, right, from Javier's Restaurant will be
Yes.
like the guest speaker that day telling his story.
Yes.
Anything else you want to share about Saturday before we
Of
close
course.
out?
Yeah. No.
Is
just-
there a name for it? Does the event have a
Yes.
name if they want to look it up online or anything?
Thank you,
I
Paul.
love this guy.
I gotta
I'm gonna
send it.
take him home. Yes, it's called Transforma Tu Vida.
Transforma tu vida.
Yes,
So transform your lives.
Transform your life. The event will be completely in Spanish because, as I said before, it's to help that community that's underserved, that only speaks Spanish.
But many of us will be there that speak English.
Of
So
course.
we can always translate in any way.
Yeah.
Because there'll be some networking opportunities,
Of
right?
course, yeah. There's gonna be, at
Networking.
the end, there's gonna be like a music group, with like positive music, very empowering.
So it'll be fun. It's
So,
not
yeah.
just all speakers. There's going to be
Oh my
music.
God, this show will be like a mini Tony Robbins event. I'm telling you, I went big.
Really? You're going all
Yes.
out.
I'm going
like
all
go
out
big or go
because
home.
I went to Tony Robbins 2 years ago, and I experienced that energy that was like, oof,
Yeah.
it was amazing. I was like, I want my brother to experience this. I want my family to come to this, right? But they're not gonna go because it's in English. So I was like, my community needs this. So I committed to be the Tony Robbins for Latin America.
There you go.
We're going big here.
The Tony Robbins for Latin America, the Latinoamericana.
Yes,
is
La
doing her own,
Latina.
right?
Sí.
Pues muchas gracias a todos los que nos han escuchado también. Disculpe que fue en inglés. Ahora yo sé que tienes muchos seguidores en español, pero ojalá los veamos todos ahí el sábado y la Cámara de Comercio Hispano ahí va a estar apoyándolos.
Muchas gracias. Y sí, claro, sean curiosos. Just be curious about, what's there that you can like improve. Be humble too.
Yeah, be open-minded.
Be open-minded.
And that's the most
to
important thing.
receive knowledge, to accept knowledge, and then be hungry too.
Yeah, and I always tell my friends, don't be so, let's go joking around, like, don't be so old school. Like, come on, be open-minded. You never know what you're going to learn. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know why the reason you just went there, and it was just the right place to be at the right time.
Yes,
right?
and the reason why I'm where I'm at is because of the networking I've been doing. The people I've been meeting. I'm not doing this.
So you listen to me a little bit.
Oh my God, I regret so much not doing it 8 years ago. Of course.
I tell my friends all the time, you got to go out and people that watch our show and listen to us or see me my post, they're like, why are you always posting networking? Why? I tell them it's not just for business. It's for anything. I mean, it could be family related. It could be anything. You just never know who you're going to meet. And it's all about collaboration, right? It's all about helping each other out.
Behind this event, there is a big group of people collaborating on this. So I'm not by myself here doing this alone. Like you are helping me too, right?
Yes, we're trying our best.
Thanks to networking.
Yes, we're trying our best here at the Hispanic Chamber to help you and get the word out. So no de nada, claro. So again, folks, see you guys Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. But try to register ahead of time so Marian can also know how many guests she's going to have that day, of course. That's important to know when you're going to have an event, right? What to expect, how many people. I do know we are Latinos, Hispanics. We like 60 of us were RSVP and then 100 show up.
Yeah,
never fails.
It never fails. Or I buy tickets the same day.
Yes.
I get it,
So,
but yeah.
Nunca sabes.
Yeah.
Pero ojalá que venga todo el mundo.
Yes, and be ready to unlock that power that's within you, that fire.
Yes.
That's what I want. I want people who are fired up.
Well, thank you for being on our show, Marian. We really appreciate it, folks. Marian Diaz, again, director of HYPERNOVA Marketing Agency. If you need help with marketing, she does some great social media. Go follow her on her Instagram. And then she's also an entrepreneur. Of course, she has her eyelash business, her facials. So everybody listening, go get a nice facial. We all need that nice, health and wellness therapy, right?
Pampered.
Getting pampered.
Yes.
And of course, she has her own podcast show. What's the name of the podcast show? Is it again Mentes
Disruptivas? Estaremos lanzando el día sábado también el podcast, así que es una big celebration.
Nice.
Y como dije anteriormente, era mi sueño lanzar mi podcast con Javier, el dueño de Javier's Restaurant, y pues lograrlo. Yo quiero que todo el mundo lo sepa porque quiero ser prueba y ejemplo de que sí se puede.
Sí se puede. We all know that word. Bueno, Marian, we wish you all the best, and we will see you there Saturday. Mr. Paul Roberts, thank you again for having us at OC Talk Radio. Thank you all for tuning into our community podcast show powered by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Please don't forget to follow us on our social media, OCHCC, or at the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Facebook page. We'll see you again next week, folks. Have a blessed day.
Wow. If that doesn't make you want to come back and hear more, I don't know what is. Check out the event and come back and tell us what you heard, what you saw, and what you learned as you join our community each and every week here in Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.
Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beale Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber with another great guest positively impacting our community. Today, I welcome Orange County Business Council President and CEO Jeff Ball. The Orange County Business Council represents and promotes the business community, working with government and academia to enhance the economic development of Orange County, which is the nation's 6th largest county. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Don. Great to be here.
Jeff, what are the types of businesses that are Orange County Business Council members?
Don, we have an amazing portfolio of member companies. We refer to them as investors because they invest in our organization. But almost every industry that you see as part of our Orange County economy is represented in the Business Council. We have builders, we have hotel operators, restaurants, healthcare, we have nonprofits, we have government agencies, and everybody coming to the table focused on the issues and the opportunities for Orange County.
Well, what are the initiatives which members work together to maintain Orange County's economic vitality?
So the focus of our organization is economic development for Orange County, and we want to achieve that economic development while enhancing this high standard quality of life that we all enjoy that makes Orange County so special. And that in and of itself is a big mission. Economic development in Orange County almost feels natural at times because of the many abundant resources and businesses that we already have operating here. But to do it in a way that enhances quality of life, working from the basis that we have, is important. So our initiatives to achieve that economic development are really focused around three areas. The first one is workforce, having an adequate workforce that the business community and the overall economy will need in order to be able to sustain and grow the way we would like to. And not just the development of workforce, but also the retention of that workforce. The second major initiative within that is housing, which is our number one crisis in Orange County. We just simply do not have enough supply of housing, and that has a significant impact on our ability to grow, as well as this desire to enhance the quality of life. And then the third area is infrastructure. And with infrastructure, we're talking about everything from highways and transit to energy, water, wastewater, broadband, all of the things that our residents and businesses depend on to be able to operate. And we want infrastructure that is efficient and reliable so that it can support that continued growth.
Let's talk about housing as your initiative. What are you doing to try to have more housing available for the employees who work in Orange County?
As I mentioned, this is our number one crisis, and it is a combination of local issues and state issues, in our opinion. There is a law that was passed actually back when Ronald Reagan was governor of California. It was a bipartisan bill. It was called the California Environmental Quality Act. It had some wonderful intentions. It had some wonderful aspects to make sure that anytime we look at development, whether it's public projects or private projects, whether it's housing or highways, that we're looking at the environmental impact of these projects. But unfortunately, a lot of the provisions of that law, which we refer to as CEQA, a lot of those provisions have been abused to the point where it's increased the cost for us to be able to build housing. It has deterred a lot of the potential development that we could have, and it's just made it a lot harder to develop. So you have two components there. It's limiting the supply and it's increasing the cost. And we estimate just in the last 3 years, Don, we have added over $120,000 per door in just regulatory cost to be able to build a home in California. And when you impact that with the higher cost here of Orange County, whether it's the land or the labor, these are the issues that we're dealing with more from a state policy perspective that are limiting our ability to increase housing. So one of our big policy focuses is to look at a bipartisan reform of CEQA. As I said, that law was put into place many years ago on a bipartisan basis. We need to look at bipartisan reform. And over the last several years, we've seen instances where we've carved out exemptions from CEQA to be able to get important projects done. It's how some of our newer stadiums and arenas have been built in a timely manner to be able to get around a lot of that. We say, let's stop going with the exceptions. Let's look across the board at this law and how it's abused. And we're not saying we need to ignore environmental impact, not at all. But let's take a more constructive look at how we can address those concerns and still be able to get the projects built that we need, whether it's in housing or transportation. Our focus right now is housing that we're talking about, but it also impacts transportation as well, and the ultimate cost to be able to do the work we need to do, whether it's expansion of the highways or transit. So all of this impacts our ability to grow, and it all impacts that quality of life that we want to make sure is part of that growth.
So how does the business council members work together on these policies?
So we have a housing committee that meets on a frequent basis. part of that committee, we have a variety of different participants. We have representation from obviously the developer community. We have representation from the realtor community. We have public policy. We have nonprofits. We have affordable housing developers. Everybody coming together to understand these different issues and unite around the types of policies that we need to promote to be able to enhance it. It's a big challenge. I would say that our Orange County legislators, for the most part, get it, but it's a statewide problem, right? So we have to always be active in promoting the policies that will help to approach this issue. And in fact, we are taking a large group to Sacramento early next week, whole combination of different interests, not just focused on housing, but a lot of the other initiatives that I mentioned a moment ago, to sit down and to meet with some of the agency heads, to meet with some of the committee leadership from throughout the state, so that we can express some of these concerns and some of the different solutions that we have. But the primary issue we feel in addressing the housing supply is to reform CEQA. And it's looking at supply across the board. There's a lot of conversation around affordable. Affordable is a relative term.
It is.
Affordable in Orange County is not the same as what it would be in San Bernardino County. So we have to really look at the overall housing supply as an issue and allow for the opportunities for development to go through in an environmentally responsible way. But as a state and as municipalities, we tend to dictate to our developers what to build, how to build it, where to build it. We want to open up that market, allow the builders the opportunity to develop what we need, put their own capital at work. If they get it right and they meet our supply according to where the demand is, they should earn a profit in doing that. And if they get it wrong, it's their own capital at risk. But we need to clear the way, open the path so that they can actually build and get us the supply that we need across the board.
Leading Educational Attainment for Families Initiative.
Oh, I love that program. So this is associated with the workforce side, Dawn, that I was mentioning earlier. And we look at workforce not just from the standpoint of workforce development, but also retention of workforce. So our workforce committee, just like we have a housing committee, we also have a workforce committee that has a variety of different representatives there from a variety of different organizations. It has a significant concentration of HR professionals who are talking about many of the different employment laws that they have to work through in California and how we can help our businesses be more effective and have the right policies and procedures so that they can maximize the benefits that they get out of the human resources that they employ. We also look at it from a development standpoint. And when I talk about economic development while enhancing the quality of life, a major component of that is looking at some of our lower income communities, which in the past have not seen as much opportunity to participate in the economic growth that's happening in the county. A lot of times it comes back to an education gap. And there was a study that was done by the Orange County Register over a decade ago that looked at the achievement gaps in education in Orange County. And it demonstrated that in certain ethnicities, in certain communities that are represented by those ethnicities, we saw a large achievement gap. And a lot of that focus was around performance of our Hispanic students relative to our white and Asian students. And so OCBC, with my predecessor, working very hard, wanted to approach this and developed a curriculum for the parents that would go in and help the parents understand how the education system works, to help them see how education is attainable in Orange County, from the early stages of education all the way through community college and trade school and universities. It is achievable, and we want to see more first-gen students, and the result of that has been tremendous. We still have a gap, and we continue to monitor that in our community indicators study that we do every year, but it's closing a bit, and a lot of it is attributable to this LEA program, which we have now broadened and are offering across more districts throughout the county, in hopes that more families will participate, more families will fully utilize the resources that we have in education. And we need that because we have a shortage of workforce. And if we can have deeper engagement in education, particularly in some of our lower income communities, and get them into our workforce, properly educated, properly trained for the jobs that we need to see filled, that's a win-win. That's part of that equation of economic development while improving the quality of life that we already have here in Orange County.
So what are some of the resources you provide?
So what we do is it's a curriculum which we recently revised, and it's we basically train the trainers and provide them with this curriculum that the districts employ. They put on evening programs usually at a district facility that the families can come to, and they can learn all the different components of education and how it works, the value of education, how the different structures work, how to understand report cards, and then also what programs are available, support, so that these kids can feel as though there is that opportunity to move on to get into community college. We work very closely with our community colleges and pursue dual enrollment, where kids can start getting college credits while they're in high school. It helps them get a head start. It also helps with building that confidence and that comfort level that comes with not making college seem so intimidating. And the last component of it is we have to recognize that not every kid is going to go on to Harvard. Not every kid is going to get that high-level score on their ACT. We're going to have those kids in the middle, and we're going to have those kids on the lower end, and there is opportunity for them too. So how can they pursue dual enrollment opportunities so that they can go on into trades or other programs that allow them to get a successful job in Orange County where they can live comfortably and enjoy this quality of life that makes our region so special?
Where are the workforce shortages?
When we think about workforce, Don, we really think about it in three main buckets. You have the very high end, which is your highly educated professional, bachelors, masters, your scientists, your lawyers up there. And Orange County actually has one of the highest percentages of population that has a bachelor degree or an advanced degree throughout the state. Only Santa Clara County has a higher percentage of educated population compared to us. And for businesses that are looking for talent at that level, there's ample opportunity. Right here at UCI, we put out incredible programs, great students graduating every year that are employable, that can fill a lot of those needs. We also have the lower end, which is our unskilled, lower skilled population, people in transition, maybe coming out of incarceration or perhaps coming out of military service, and they just need some of the core basic skill training. And we have some nonprofits that are doing an amazing job in that. Goodwill of Orange County is one of my favorite examples. United Way, another great example, that working with these people to get them basic skills that they need to be able to enter the workforce. Where we're really suffering is in the middle. And these are the jobs that don't necessarily require a 4-year degree, but require a certain level of training. As I often hear from our business operators, I don't need somebody who can design and build a machine for me. I need somebody who can run and fix the machine that I have. So this is where the trades come into play. And we have our trade unions do a great job in providing training around certain areas of manufacturing and construction. We have also community college programs that are doing well, and we have the specific trade schools. So whether it's someone that's training to be a construction worker or someone who's training to be a nursing assistant in a hospital, these programs are available, and that's part of what LEA is intending to do, is bring more people into the workforce with the type of skills and training that they need to be able to have a job opportunity. And the good news is, with the growth we have in this region, those opportunities exist. Those opportunities are there that we can show these kids and these people in transition that if they focus and achieve a certain amount of education and training, that they will have economic opportunity in Orange County.
The Community Economic Resilience Fund.
The Community Economic Resilience Fund is a statewide program which was initiated a couple years ago, and the change is it's now called the California Jobs First Initiative. So we no longer refer to it as SURF. But this was a program that was funded out of the CARES Act during the pandemic, a federal funding that came to the states to have them develop programs that can further promote economic development, and economic development that's focused on projects that can be resilient to economic cycles. So there are 13 regions of the state, and for this particular program, Orange County is its own region. Oftentimes we get looped in with LA or Inland Empire, San Diego. In this case, we're on our own. Orange County Business Council is the regional convener for this program, and so we are leading this effort to bring together many different types of organizations, business, nonprofit, agency, groups that you would normally not assume a business council to associate with, environmental groups, certain ethnic representation groups, all of us coming together to make a true assessment of our county and identify where there's opportunities so that we can then direct the opportunity of this funding to go towards economic projects that meet this criterion. But our desire is to take this program and to leverage it into more private investment. So as we find the opportunities in which we can employ this public funding, which is a great one-time opportunity, we want it to further evolve into additional economic growth opportunities that can be funded out of the private sector as well. So it's an exciting opportunity, and as a convener, it's an opportunity for us to really demonstrate our leadership in the county, having the ability to bring all different interests to the table to be focused around this concept of economic development.
What are the membership requirements?
To be part of OCBC, first of all, it's all of our members are businesses or organizations. And by the way, we have education in there as well. It's so individuals do not invest. It is organizations or businesses that invest. And we have certain rates for nonprofits. We have different rates for for-profits, and it really depends upon the level of engagement that they're looking for. For a business to invest at $5,000 a year, they're able to participate in all of our committee meetings that I described before. One of them or all of them. We have committees around economic development, workforce, housing, infrastructure. We also have a government affairs committee. We often bring in the electeds to talk about some of these issues that you and I have been discussing today. As an investor, you can participate in that. And then from there, there's additional investment levels that provide different opportunities for engagement. But just to be at the table, right? Was it on Hamilton, the room where it happened? That's where that investment level is at.
What are some of the benefits that you haven't mentioned that they can enjoy?
So one of the great things about the Orange County Business Council is our ability to bring different groups together. So first and foremost, a lot of people like to be part of the council because it's an opportunity to get to know a lot of the influential people in Orange County and where a lot of the critical issues are being addressed, where the opportunities are being addressed. And so you really have the chance to hone in on certain contacts, certain projects, things that you're interested in. So that's number one, is the networking. Number two, the information you can get. We have our community indicators report that we put out every year, which has a tremendous amount of information about the county that you can use either from an organizational perspective or a personal perspective in understanding the dynamics of our county, but also just through the programs that we have and coming to our committee meetings. There's so much that you can learn and understand about Orange County. We also have a very strong communications team. We have an email that we put out every other week that has great information about things that are happening in the county. In fact, I think the most recent one talked about this show and the fact that I would be here with you today. So we want people to be informed and understand the different things that are happening and obviously the objectives that we're focused on, as well as we love to brag about our investors. We love to do that. So that's another thing. And then last thing I'll mention is our events. We put on great events. Just had our annual dinner last month in Anaheim. We had over 700 people there, had a great program focused on some businesses that have chosen Orange County for their growth and development. So that's just a few things that we do that really allow the opportunity for businesses, organizations, individuals to get engaged in what's happening in Orange County.
How does this business council compare to other ones?
We, other than that we're the best, you have councils in other regions. And by the way, we work with them too. As we address these statewide issues, it's important that we're working with our counterparts in the Inland Empire and Los Angeles and Ventura County and San Diego. So we all work together, and there's little differences around each of them. I think the one thing I take the most pride in with what we've done with the Orange County Business Council is that regional focus with economic development and focusing all of our attention, bringing people around that common theme has gone a long ways in providing the type of coalition building that we really need to be able to address those issues. And I think it's a unique aspect. The other part of it is, we do a lot of the advocacy work. We're also an economic development engine. And in many regions, those are separated. Oftentimes, your economic development may be publicly funded, so they're a little hesitant to get involved in advocacy. We're able to do both. We're primarily privately funded, and so we have the ability to not only do a lot of the advocacy work, but also the focus on economic development. And I think it's very effective to have those two tied together. So that's a unique aspect for how we're doing it in Orange County.
Well, give us some examples of advocacy.
Well, we talked about CEQA that we're focused on. Another big issue for the business community is PAGA, which is the Private Attorney General's Act. In most every state of the union, if an employee has an issue with their employer, there's a state resource board that they can go to, a labor relations board, that they can voice their complaint and have it heard and have it dealt with. And the remedies to it go directly to the individual that was affected. In California, we do it a bit differently. We allow for private action to occur through attorneys. It ends up, just like we had with CEQA, it often gets abused. And sadly, when we get into the settlement provisions, a lot of that money goes to the attorneys and not necessarily to the employees that are affected. So we're looking to see reform on that because just like CEQA, we're experiencing a significant amount of abuse that's happening through that. And it's not really benefiting the employment community the way it was originally intended. We also are working very hard to protect some of our local funding. An example of that is, we have chosen to impose a sales tax on ourselves here in Orange County to directly fund transportation. And a big component of that is for us to have the ability to widen our freeways. The 405 was recently widened, and great project that has been completed. They're now working on the 55 widening. There's state limitations that are coming into play that are trying to restrict the ability to do projects like that, but that's what we chose to tax ourselves on. So it's preservation of that local funding and also making sure Orange County gets its fair share of all the overall funding opportunities throughout the state and also what comes at a federal level.
Why do you like being the board chair?
So I'm actually the CEO and have a volunteer board chair, and we rotate that chair every year out of the board. But I came into this position